26 for the November 2nd, 6 p.m. Council meeting. Sorry. So our first piece of business today is on page 39. And we have Dr. Gregory Branch, who we know has been a very, very busy person.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we get started, if it's all right, I'd just like to let everyone know who is on this call, maybe as an attendee, and maybe thought they were going to testify, that Bill 103-20, the no-knock warrants bill, that bill was withdrawn by Mr. Jones prior to the work session today, but there may have been some people though that signed up to testify before we actually got the withdrawal effective. So I just want to let folks know who may be expecting to testify on that bill that there won't be any necessity for testimony since the bill has been withdrawn by the sponsor. And I know Mr. Jones wanted to just maybe make a few quick remarks about that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bosworth. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Bosworth and Madam Chair. I just want to let people know that basically we were running out of time on this particular bill in terms of meeting and working things out with some of the stakeholders. And I've learned an awful lot of additional information that's been coming forth. So I felt that instead of trying to rush it, that we would just slow it down a little bit, continue to meet with the various people that are involved and reintroduce the bill at a later date.
Right. Thank you, Councilman.
And we certainly appreciate everybody who came out to, in fact, testify in favor or against it.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving back to page 39, Dr. Gregory Branch is our Director, Department of Health and Human Services. Hi, Dr. Branch.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and council members. Can you hear me?
We can. We can see you
Okay,
too.
great. Good. So during this COVID time, I'd like to extend a hello and a virtual fist bump to each of you. The administration is now seeking approval for a contract to lease 8,816 square feet at 6901 Security Boulevard for our Woodlawn Health and WIC centers. The property is owned by Septic Captains Free Outreach Center, and the lease commences on July 1st, 2021, and continues for 20 years and may be renewed for 2 additional 5-year periods. The estimated cost for the initial 20-year term totals approximately $1.5 million. I would just like to say that this is an excellent example of a public-private faith-based partnership which will enhance our community education and outreach efforts. When I first got to the department in 2006, my assessment for the Department of Health included the need to replace 2 antiquated and dilapidated buildings that did not support our required services. One of them was for animal services, and the other one was the Woodlawn Health Center. The Woodlawn Health Center has always been our busiest site, but unfortunately it's always been our smallest site. And the limited space required our patients to go to 2 different locations to access our essential medical services, and then another location to access our WIC services. This new location will make it a one-stop shop where our West Side residents can access all of the essential public health services at one place. The COVID-19 pandemic has reiterated the devastation that chronic health issues and underlying health conditions can have, especially in the African American community. This new site will help to remove the barriers for those needing services and improve healthy outcomes in the community. So I open with a fist bump, and it's my sincere hope that I can close with a hygienic high five. And thank you guys so much for your attention.
Well, first and foremost, it's so good to see you healthy and with us again for sure. And I know what a quality program the WIC is and how it assists so many families. And it's great to see this type of partnership in the communities. It really is. So I think it's really exciting. Yes, Ms. Rogers. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, if I could add a couple other points to that. This will be the first time that the county has been able to achieve, as Dr. Branch said, the co-location of WIC services and health services in one spot, whereas elsewhere in the county, that is the case. Having these services in two different places right now causes families to have to travel from one place to the other, and often with small children on public transportation. And this was just a wonderful opportunity to achieve the county's long-term goal of having co-located services for all of our residents across the county, plus the fact that there are other services that will be provided at the WOW Center that our customers will be able to take advantage of as well. Perfect public-private partnership opportunity, and we're thankful for this ability to merge these programs together and utilize, the same funding to help do that.
Very good. Sounds good.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman, was that Quirk? Councilman Quirk?
you got it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted to just thank Dr. Branch and thank the administration. I know this is an issue that Councilman Jones and I share a lot of real benefit and goodwill. Set the Captives Free is just a phenomenal group. They do a lot of great work with the community. And I think this is a great location and a great partnership, as was said, really just, this is definitely a great public-private partnership that I think the whole community will benefit from, and really centralizing this makes a lot of good sense. So I just want to give a shout out, job well done, Dr. Branch, as always. And thank you to the county exec. Thank you, Ms. Rogers. And I've seen our county exec at this location many, many times, and they're really doing great work. So job well done. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else have any questions or comments? All right. Thank you, Dr. Branch. Good seeing you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Take care. Moving along, I don't know why, but we said goodbye to Tom Kiefer at the last council meeting, so I don't know why he's back again today. But that's our next item. Mr. Kiefer, what are you doing here?
I was invited. I show up to every party I'm invited to.
Stacy, he's retired.
No, Friday. People do work to the last day. But I just want to make sure that what item he is presenting, because we did have a switch.
So I am presenting on the guardrails. Is that the one you're referring to, Madam Chair?
Yes, that's what I had before.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Very good. So many presentations. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Guardrails, Inc. to maintain, replace, and repair existing guardrail and to furnish and install new guardrail throughout the county as needed. The contract commences upon council approval, continues for a year, and may be renewed automatically for 4 additional one-year periods, with the option to extend the additional term or any renewal term an additional 90 days. The contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial one-year term, but compensation may not exceed $1.8 million for the entire 5-year, 3-month term, including renewal and extension periods. So these will be the contractors that will replace guardrails as they get damaged, signposts that are needed, any reflective surfaces, that sort of thing.
Okay.
It was competitively bid. And there was one other bidder, and they came in at around $570,000, and the competitor around $733,000.
Okay, sounds good. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Kiefer about this contract? All right, hearing none. Thank you again for joining us. Good seeing you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Take care. Okay, our next item, if we could turn to page 22. We have Danielle Wally with us from the Office of Human Resources.
Good afternoon, it's afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. The administration's requesting approval of 3 contracts to provide computer training sources for the county employees on an as-needed basis. The 3 contractors are AnswerQuest Technologies, Logical Ventures, and Homeland Security, also known as Dantley Corp. Each contract commenced on June 1st, 2020 and continues through October 31st, 2020 and may not exceed $25,000 unless approved by council. If approved, the councils will continue through May 31st, 2021 and will renew automatically for additional 1-year periods with the option to extend the initial term on any renewal term an additional 120 days. The contracts do not specify maximum compensation for the initial 1-year term or for the entire 5-year and 4-month term, including the renewal and extension periods. Compensation for all contractors combined may not exceed the amount appropriated for these services for the entire contract term, and estimated combined compensation totals $250,000 for the entire 5-year term and 4 months. Just some additional notes. In the fiscal year 20, we actually used these vendors as well. They all went through a competitive bid, so they all are previous vendors that we've had. Just using their services in fiscal year 20, we trained 1,300 employees, 1,394 to be exact. And it was, like I said, it was all competitive bid, and they were all chosen based on their expertise, certifications, and past experience.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Ms. Wally? All right, hearing none, thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Take care. Next item is on page 10. We have Tim Sheridan, who is our court administrator for the circuit court. Good afternoon, Tim.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. The circuit court, with the support of the administration, is seeking the county council's approval to approve a contract for a foreclosure specialist named Tamer Showerbaji. And this is basically a stopgap measure for us. We did request through our fiscal year 2021 budget and received 2 positions, employee positions, to work as foreclosure review specialists, doing essentially what we've been doing contractually on an employment basis, which is something we're very happy about. But we can't fill those positions until January. So this request is a stopgap measure to get us through to whenever we hire those positions. Excuse me a second.
Okay.
So the amount of $45,000 is probably more than we need, and will get us through to the hiring season. And I don't know if there's any other questions on that, but even though there is still a lot to do what's going on with we've been chasing this foreclosure backlog essentially for years, and we're getting close to catching it. But we would like the county council's approval for this contract to keep us online.
Tim, I have a question. When you're talking about 2 new hires, do they become county employees or state employees?
Well, here at the circuit court, we are called employees of the circuit court that are paid by the county. So like me, the people that can hire and fire me are the judges. So you would say, who do you work for? And I would answer, well, I work for the judges, who are all state employees, but my paycheck comes from the county. So
Okay.
these positions would be like that. And we have in our current year's budget, we request contractually payment for this service that we're talking about. So we're not really even asking for more money here either in this contract. We're asking just to be able to pay Mr. Showerbaji more than $25,000 if the need should arise. But to answer your question, in normal parlance, you'd say county employee.
Okay, all right. Just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Any questions or comments from any of the members, from Mr. Sheridan? Nope. Very good. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Take care. Next item, we're going to look at the first 3 contracts and an amendment to a contract. We'll start on page 26. And we have the director of OIT, Rob O'Connor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. I hope everyone is safe and well. Just want to wish Tom Kiefer the best in his retirement. I also do want to say that I truly do appreciate the efforts by my agency, all the agencies in the counties that have been put forth during this pandemic. I think this county's responded extremely well. The first of the two contracts, one is a contract, one is an amendment, are both related to IT services, hardware and software. And during this pandemic, we saw the county go from 300 people a day working from home to within 3 weeks, 3,000 individuals working from home.
Absolutely.
So the county responded quite well. And fortunately, through CARES funding, we were able to acquire equipment. And I never knew that laptops would become like toilet paper during the pandemic. So it was very advantageous to have multiple contracts to be able to shop specifications, availability, and cost for the county. So it all worked out very well. The first contract is with the administration is requesting approval of a contract with CDW Government LLC to purchase various IT commodities such as hardware, software, and related services as needed by the county. The contract commences upon council approval, continues through December 4th, 2020, and will renew automatically for 5 additional one-year periods. The contract does not specify the maximum compensation for initial approximate 1-month term of the entire approximate 5-year and 1-month term. Compensation may not exceed the amount appropriated for the entire contract term. This contract is a piggyback off of the Fairfax County CDW contract.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? Okay, if you want to jump to page 30
Yes.
and then
Okay.
34. Do you have those? You're on mute.
Rob, you're on mute.
I didn't even mute myself.
Who's muting you?
I don't know. I would blame Mr. Blades if I could blame anyone, ma'am.
Okay.
The administration is requesting approval of 2 contracts to provide annual inspections, maintenance, and repair of the county's radio towers and monopoles. United States Tower Services Limited will serve as the primary contractor, and Infinity Solutions LLC will serve as the secondary contractor. Each contract commences upon council approval, continues for 1 year, and will renew automatically for 4 additional one-year periods with the option to extend the initial term of any renewal term an additional 120 days. The contracts do not specify a maximum compensation for the initial 1-year term. Compensation for both contractors combined may not exceed $511,066 for the entire 5-year, 4-month term, including the renewal and extension periods. This was an RFP that was competitively bid, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions about the contract on page 30? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair, I just have one comment for Mr.
Yes,
O'Connor.
Councilman.
Mr. O'Connor, is that a virtual screen or
Yes,
background behind
it
you?
is.
Or
I
that,
see. Yeah, I see that everyone else has their fake beaches up. I'm actually at the beach, and then I have a fake picture of my office.
Brilliant.
Thank you. No, I'm in my office, sir. Day in and day out.
That's brilliant. Okay, if we can move on to page 34.
Yes, ma'am. The administration is requesting approval of 2 contracts to provide maintenance and repair services for the county's computer-related HVAC equipment and systems at various county sites. Tate Engineering Systems Incorporated, known as Site Support Services, will serve as the primary contractor, and Constellation Energy, Inc. will serve as the secondary contractor. Each contract commenced September 28, 2020, and continues through December 31st, 2020, and may not exceed $25,000 unless approved by council. If approved, each contract will continue through September 27th, 2021, and will renew automatically for 4 additional 1-year periods with the option to extend the initial term for any renewal term an additional 120 days. The contracts do not specify a maximum compensation for the initial 1-year term. Compensation for both contractors combined may not exceed $1,180,275 for the entire 5-year, 4-month term, including the renewal and extension periods.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on the last contract?
The last contract is an amendment. The administration is requesting an amendment to contract with Insight Public Sector to continue purchasing various IT equipment, commodities such as hardware, software, and related services needed by the county. The proposed amendment removes the existing compensation cap and limits compensation to the amount appropriated the entire term. Estimated compensation for the amended period, the contract term totals $4,871,791, increasing the estimated total compensation to $10,017,588 for the entire 6-year and 11-month term, including the renewal periods. We are requesting this amendment due to the pandemic. We had to purchase large amounts of IT equipment, as known. They were CARES funded, but obviously this did put a strain on the cap of our IT services and equipment contracts.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Okay, have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Hold on, I gotta take care of the baby here. Moving on to the next item, page 13. We have property management. Oh, Deborah Schindel is with us this afternoon.
Afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the
Afternoon.
council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with CEG Solutions LLC to perform an energy audit and to develop with the Altons to implement comprehensive energy efficiency and guaranteed savings program at 2 county buildings. That is at the Glenarm Equipment Maintenance Facility and the Drumcastle Government Center. The contract for the audit commences upon the council's approval, with the final audit report due to the county within 180 days, unless extended by mutual agreement. Should the county accept the audit report, the county will then enter into an energy savings performance contract, which will commence 120 days after the assurance of the notice to accept of an audit's report and continue for 15 years. Compensation for the audit report may not exceed $229,223 for the entire 180-day term. Should the county accept the audit report and enter into an energy savings contract, which would be presented to the council for its approval in that phase of the contract, the compensation shall be rolled into the anticipated energy savings. And then I can go on. Thank you very much for letting me explain a little bit before the meeting about what phase 1 is and phase 2 is. And I can gladly answer any questions that you may have now.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman, was that Crandall?
Patoka.
Patoka.
Thank you, Ms. Schindel. I wanted to ask this during our earlier session, but we were short on time. Are there incremental benchmarks for the contractor so that we can ensure that we're on track to meet these energy savings?
Yes, so after we go and get into a signed contract, at the end of construction, there is a 15-year window where we create benchmarks to assure that we are meeting our energy performance that is guaranteed. And we will be reviewing those as we go through. Our number one benchmark is to ensure that the money that we are saving on our energy side will offset the cost of construction. But yes, we have different benchmarks that we will be creating with them as we go through design and development, so that we can continue to give reports out for the next 15 years after construction.
So would the vendor contractor would that be the same entity over the 15-year period, or would they? I would just want to understand exactly the
Yes.
dynamics of how this works.
Yeah, so yes, it is the same vendor. What it's as I try to explain it, it is a little complex. It's a turnkey operation. So this company actually will fund the construction piece of it, and they will stay involved, and they actually are getting a guarantee backing. And so they stay involved from now until till 15 years after construction as part of the team that continues to watch the benchmark. So yes, they are in all full, every component for the next couple years.
My concern is that 15 years is a long time, and you know, a lot of things can happen over that course of time. And so I guess the question I have is the audit component, the design component, and the build component, are they the same contract, or are they individual contracts or separate contracts?
They're all part of this contract.
So it'd be one contractor having all three components?
Correct, and it's a third party that does the guarantee.
Councilman
So-
Patoka, if I could just jump in for a sec, it is the company that's financing the cost. So that 15 years gives the company time to pay off the loans and the bonds that they may have to issue to cover their cost of the construction. We are paying them back with our savings in electricity or power consumption. So, and this does not count against our debt capacity.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? I'm sorry, were you finished, Deb? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, ma'am. I'm good if everyone else is.
Okay,
Thank
all
you.
righty. No comments? No questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. I will move on to page 17. And we have Mr. James Benjamin, our county attorney.
Thank you. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Wheelabrator Baltimore LP to dispose of municipal solid waste. This is a negotiation of an existing contract as part of a settlement related to litigation and represents significant cost savings for the county. The contract is effective upon council approval, but the obligations under it shall be retroactive to October 1st, 2020 and continue through September 30th, 2026. The county is operating under the current contract, and the rate per ton on the current contract is higher than the one under the proposed contract. If the proposed contract is approved by the council, Wheelabrator has agreed to give the county a credit for the difference in rates and will credit the tons delivered in October toward the guaranteed annual tonnage under the new contract. Compensation may not exceed the amount appropriated for these services for the entire contract term. The proposed contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the entire 6-year term. Estimated compensation totals $58,776,700 for the entire 6-year term, and the contract is expected to result in cost savings to the county in the first year of approximately $3,599,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Benjamin? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Next item is on page 1. And we have Mr. Malinoff with us, the Director of Permits, Approvals, and Inspections. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Yeah.
Love the dog.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the County Council, I'm Michael Malinoff, Director of Permits, Approvals, and Inspections. Bill 9720 amends and updates several provisions regarding public events, parades, and carnivals. Overall, this is a reorganization of the section and a streamlining of the permitting internal processes. In sum, the bill will amend Article 21 permits, licenses.
Speak up, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, someone said to speak up, so. The bill will amend Article 21 permits, license, and business regulations of the Baltimore County Code 2015 to create an expanded definition of events that require a permit for operation. The legislation reorganizes the section and supplements the parade permitting process and integrates carnivals to include a robust review process for operators to obtain a permit. The application for the carnival permit shall be filed at least 60 days in advance of the event and is to include name, address, phone number of the applicant, applicable fee, and other pertinent information. The legislation outlines interagency coordination required for special events to include notification of the police department, the fire department, the Department of Health, building engineer, and any other department deemed necessary by the director. The chief of police may adopt a detailed pay policy under which applicants for permits under this subtitle may be required to pay for services provided by on-duty officers. I'll be discussing below a bit more that the administration will support a friendly amendment to remove parades, and that this does not include standalone fireworks displays, as they are under the fire protection section of the county code. It doesn't necessarily preclude fireworks that are ancillary to, say, a carnival or something like that. The bill clarifies that the Director of Permits, Approvals, and Inspections may regulate certain types of county events. As outlined above, the bill states that the Chief of Police may adopt a pay policy under which the applicants for event permits may be required to pay for services provided by on-duty officers, and that the administrative officer shall establish and review the fees. Detail pay is for larger stationary events such as carnivals. And again, as I mentioned, the administration's willing to accept a friendly amendment to eliminate parades. The bill sets forth requirements for a parade permit application and for a parade permit holder. The bill defines a parade as a march or procession on any street, road, or highway or alley, and requires a person starting or organizing the parade to obtain a permit from the director of PAI. To obtain the event permit, an applicant must submit the application, as mentioned before, at least 60 days before the event. That gives us time to review and understand what our needs are vis-a-vis primarily public safety before the event, including a sworn affidavit that the information in the application is correct. The application must include the following information. In sum, the applicant's contact information, security plan, including security personnel information, and the like, for approval by the police department. Upon submission, the application is forwarded to the relevant public safety agencies for review. The county must grant or deny the application at least 14 days before the event. The county must grant the application unless specific conditions are present. And these include things like damaging the county property in the past, misrepresentations of the event, and other things related to traffic facilities or premises that are inadequate to accommodate an anticipated number of spectators or participants. If the security plan is not improved by the police department as well, there are inadequate toilet facilities per the plumbing code, inadequate refreshment facilities per health department, and similar items that are in the bill. In addition to these provisions, the bill provides that the director of PAI shall issue a parade permit when, in part, the conduct of the parade will not substantially interrupt traffic contiguous to its route. The parade will not require the diversion of so great a number of police officers and ambulances to prevent the normal police protection and ambulance service to the county, and other reasons enumerated in the bill. And in sum, a person who violates the provisions of this bill is guilty of a misdemeanor. Upon conviction, is subject to a fine not exceeding $500, imprisonment not exceeding 30 days, or both. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malinoff. Thank you for considering the friendly amendments. I did hear from a few business associations last week and over the weekend, the Towson Chamber of Commerce, and also the Perry Hall, which I'm sure David did as well, very concerned about parades and maybe some of the other events. So thank you so much for explaining that. Are there any questions or comments from any of the members? Mr.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, just real quickly, if Mr. Bostwick can review the this friendly amendment that we've been working on in partnership with the County Exec's Office. Mr. Bostwick?
Yes, Mr. Quirk. So the bill right now, I think the amendment that is proposed potentially is on page 7 in line 11, where the bill says, except as otherwise provided in this subtitle, a person shall receive a parade permit issued by the director before the person may engage in, participate in, aid, form, or start a parade. And the amendment that I think you are looking at, that the administration was helpful on, adds another short sentence after that would say a detailed pay policy adopted in accordance with this title may not apply to parade permits issued under this section. So I think that language, I think, is the administration's intent, or at least attempt to not have parades cost.
Yeah, and Madam Chair, I just wanted to thank the county exec's office too for their understanding. Obviously, nobody wants any unintended consequences. We all love our July 4th parades. We got a huge one in Catonsville, and obviously quite a number of them around the county. And I know there was a fair amount of community concern about this, you know, just because obviously people love their parades and just don't want a lot of additional cost. I do have one question for Mr. Malinoff. Is you know, in formulation of this bill, did the exec's office or did your office reach out to the carnival groups like the, you know, Ward Shaw's, his carnival group and others? Have we been working closely with those groups as well in formulating this type
I know
of
that we met.
bill?
I know that we met with them a number of times over the last year. Obviously, the events haven't been taking place recently. I can't really speak to additional meetings that I haven't been a part of, but I know they're aware of what we've been putting together for meetings that we had basically prior to COVID.
And are they generally supportive, or have they been working with you, offering different suggestions, or
well,
you know, how we all can kind of work?
I think the issues that generally came up around, and I think it's reflected by the language that says that we have to get approval by 14 days before, so that it wouldn't limit their ability to be able to publicize and get information out that they were having their event. The only other item item they did discuss was the 60 days before, but we were pretty insistent on that, particularly through public safety, so that we had an adequate number of time to be able to establish what our needs were and what the staffing needs would be at the events. You know, I think frankly this came from an event that predated me, that got a little bit out of hand. So we had a number of meetings around those, and the carnival providers were involved in those.
Right, and that was exactly be my my next question, is sort of the genesis of this bill. You know, why now? It's a pretty heavy duty bill, and so I just want to make sure we kind of understand the background and the context on it, and just making sure obviously we're reaching out to the different constituencies, make sure we're getting a lot of feedback and reviewing that
Right.
feedback. So, yeah.
Right, and evidently there was an event that did get out of control, and the police department did have to respond to. And we had a couple of applications pre-COVID, and the information wasn't necessarily clear on the public safety plan that they were going to provide. Both Chief Hyde and I come from communities that have a lot of experience in event management, so I think a little bit of this was also our input on how we've seen it managed elsewhere successfully, and not meant to be a hindrance at all. That's why the friendly amendment was being offered, and also wanting to point out that it doesn't impact firework displays that are, you know, standalone firework displays.
Okay, then that's very helpful, and then and I appreciate that as well. And so if you have like a parade committee, and say they're pulling a gathering permit under this bill, is everything okay? Like if just something similar to that?
It would be, yes. In fact, we would just be going through a similar process that we do now.
Okay. No, thank you. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair?
Mr. Malinoff, I'm sorry, Councilor Marks, go ahead.
Go ahead. I can take a point.
So for instance, town hall affairs, I'm sorry, like the Perry Hall Fair, the Towson Chamber that goes on for an entire weekend. We have something on the east side. I'm sure there's something similar all across the county where they have, anywhere from 25 to 50 to 100 vendors come in. They have entertainment, food vendors, have to provide tons of parking. How will this affect those folks?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because I think that's a big concern. These are the big money makers for the chambers and these associations, and to kind of dig into their profit. So I'm just wondering, I've never known of any incident happening at an event like that. So I guess I have more of a question than a comment. So if this is geared more towards something that's already happened, and if I understand it correctly, it's about these traveling carnivals that go all through the county, and they don't have ample security, and then we have to put our police officers there. I get all that. Why don't we just target them? What is the difference? Why would we include everyone?
I think the Office of Law will have to address how we single out certain events and certain. That was a discussion we did have when the previous county attorney was here, Mr. Fields. So we have to be careful how we separate certain groups from others. I think that the primary difference for those events will really just be a better time period for them to have to submit the information to us, or a more clear time period for them to submit the information. It doesn't necessarily mean the police chief is going to establish a detail pay or anything associated with that. It just means that we need to have this information to better understand the resources that we have to provide. Is there a possibility that that may occur? Yes, but that isn't really our intent. It's really to try to address the events that we were having issues with public safety.
Okay, all right, thank you. Councilor Marks, I believe you were next.
Yes, I think both you and Councilman Quirk have mentioned the concerns that I have, and also my chambers of commerce. So you're telling me, Mr. Malinoff, that parades will be eliminated from this bill?
Yes, there's the amendment that was discussed was a friendly amendment that the administration agreed to.
Okay.
Page 7, line 13.
Okay.
It will take care of that.
Yeah, I thank you for that. That gives me some reassurance. And I agree with Councilwoman Bevins. It just seems to me that we should be going after these problem organizations and not well-established groups like the Towson Chamber of Commerce and the Perry Hall White Marsh Business Association. The Kingsville Volunteer Fire Company, which puts on a terrific 4th of July parade. These folks are struggling like everyone else with COVID. The county has given them a lifeline with some grant funding, but I just would hate to see them struggling with more bureaucracy, more fees, particularly this year. So thank you for your support of that amendment.
Absolutely. And we understand. It'll just help us better organize more than anything, and particularly addressing the issues that we mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
Any other members?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman, I think Crandall.
Actually, I think Councilman Patoka was first.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Councilman Patoka.
He beat me to it.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Crandall and Madam Chair. So the one thing I'm concerned about in this is National Night Out events. So on the first Tuesday of August, there are events nationally, but pretty robust events here in Baltimore County that where communities gather. There's a large law enforcement presence. And so I want to know how this impacts that. And I wonder if another friendly amendment might be added, which would exclude National Night Out events. So as to not dissuade from communities for participating in crime prevention awareness on that first Tuesday in August.
I
each
don't
year.
believe, Councilman Patoka, I don't believe it affects events like that. I'm trying to leaf through the legislation as we speak, but in my experience, our ability, those are essentially First Amendment events, and the ability for government to regulate that is really quite limited. So I don't believe that you will need to have a friendly amendment, but that's something that we can address in more detail before the vote.
So the only reason I bring it up, Mr. Malinoff, is because these events come in all shapes and sizes.
Right.
Some are vehicle parades, some are community parties, but there typically is a very large law enforcement presence, and but that's part of the event for crime prevention awareness.
Absolutely.
So,
I'm very familiar. Obviously, the parade element of it is going to be amended out, and the rest of those kinds of events, due to their nature, I don't believe are intended to be regulated by this.
okay, thank you.
And I know the police department's hand in glove with these types of events as well, and planning too.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
bring
we
that
already
to
have,
attention.
we already have police there, plenty of
Right.
them. Okay, Councilman Crandall.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Mr. Malinoff, first of all, let me pass along our condolences for the loss of your friend. You were due to testify on this bill last work session, so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just at his house today in Catonsville picking up some of his property, and
wow,
it was a tough loss, and I know Councilman Quirk knows him well too, and Patoka.
And yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So getting back to the bill, I think my colleagues have addressed many of the concerns that I've heard from my constituents, many of them volunteers for our parade, our Heritage Fair, fireworks, all centered around July 4th, but there are other events that could potentially be affected by this bill. I have some, even though we have a friendly amendment with regard to taking parades out of needing to, or potentially needing to pay for police detail, I really believe this thing is still loaded with unintended consequences, and it really concerns me when the sponsors of the bill say, well, our intent is this, so that event wouldn't necessarily be affected. That doesn't mean, and I fully appreciate that this administration is, doesn't want to get in the way and make our long-standing community events that make many of our communities special places. I fully appreciate that this is not the intention of this administration, but this would be law that would live on for subsequent administrations. So I just worry that the language in this bill is a little open-ended, and that it does not define certain events like the Dundalk Heritage Fair or Essex Day, which is a street festival. So I really think that, and I'll get to a question here eventually, but I think that this bill is going to need a lot more work than one friendly amendment around parades and police detail and being charged for it. There's a lot of language in this bill that puts extra work on the volunteers that put together these parades. So I do have concerns about that. I want to ask, so our North Point Edgemere Volunteer Fire Company holds a carnival every year. It is their main fundraising event. It's a 3-day event, if not more. I might be mistaken. There might even be more days. Can you talk about how this would affect a carnival like that? And another example we have in the area is Our Lady of Hope St. Luke's School. They have a carnival on their own grounds. It's a multi-day carnival. Again, one of their biggest fundraisers, if not the biggest, throughout the year.
Well, I think the primary difference for those events would simply be the need to submit 60 days beforehand and including a security plan that the police department and public safety can approve. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to require that or in any of these events make the event sponsor hire the police department through detail pay because there are many instances where the security is provided, but what it does do is give ample time for the police department and public safety to review what the needs are. Kind of an unrelated example is we've had instances recently because of COVID where people are looking to maybe have events over at the fairgrounds or concerts and things like that. And the sole issue that we had was making sure we had adequate time to review their security plan and also social distancing and see what needs we would have to necessarily provide and would have the time to staff it. That's part of the big issue with public safety is time to schedule and get people present to be able to be at the event. So I really don't see that it would affect them unless there was something unusual that I can't even anticipate.
Well, again, I mean, it does concern me that you say that it should not affect them, as opposed to this absolutely will not affect them. I would be a lot more comfortable if I could get that answer than, well, it probably won't. So you see where I'm coming from? I mean, and what the events I'm talking about are long-standing parts of long-standing community organizations, and these are volunteers. You throw a bunch of work on volunteers, they throw up their arms and say, look, we can't do this anymore, especially if we're going to be looking at doubling our cost to put on the event and we lose all of our profit. And I think that's a potential in some of these instances. So again, I really want to take a look at the language that I feel is a bit open-ended and just has some vagaries in it that could be intentionally or unintentionally exploited in the future. And I know we have speakers on this, and so I'll just conclude with one specific question. You mentioned that fireworks displays, and I did get an email from the administration from Kimmy Rouston earlier today about my concern with fireworks. And I understand and fully appreciate that the fireworks shows are governed by a separate part of the county code. And administered by the fire marshal. But you mentioned ancillary fireworks. So let me give you the example of what happens here in Dundalk. We have what amounts to a 3-day celebration of July 4th, consisting of the parade, the Heritage Fair, and a fireworks show. They're sort of all together. So are the fireworks, and they're kind of in concert. So the Heritage Fair ends probably that Saturday night, and then the fireworks go off that night if the timing works. And it's sort of like an all-day thing. Is that ancillary fireworks or not?
No, that sounds like a standalone fireworks that would be separately approved by the fire marshal's office. So that would not be an issue. The only time that I can think of it maybe is if there's, I don't know, one of these temporary carnival events and they shoot off a couple of fireworks as part of a game or something like that. I don't want to put that in the same category, but this would be separately approved and separately regulated by the fire marshal's office. It would not be impacted by this legislation.
Okay. Well, I think that I'll ask Mr. Bostwick and Mr. Phillips over the course of the next week before this comes to a vote to take a look at perhaps codifying that, so we can get some definitions and hopefully clean up some of these unintended consequences. And I hope that the administration would be open to looking at those should we come up with them. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. If there's no more questions from members, we have 4 speakers signed up. Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, Madam Chair. As you can see, I brought the timer to my home office
I love it. I
for
love
the
it.
meeting. So each speaker has 3 minutes, and our first speaker for Bill 97 this evening is Lynn Richardson. Ms. Richardson?
Hello.
Hi, Lynn.
Hello.
You may begin your testimony.
Okay. My name is Lynn Richardson. My company is Picture This Multimedia Services, and I'm also the president of the Perry Hall White Marsh Business Association. And in my duties as a advertising and marketing person, I produce and manage 4 events on the east side of the county for a variety of the nonprofit organizations. So a lot of the things that you were talking about and already addressed about some of the particulars in this bill, I just have more questions that I would like you to consider rather than making a statement about it, because that all has been covered. So when we talk about the requirement for pay services for on-duty officers under certain circumstances, that particular entry is just, from where I sit and the kind of events I have, are a little too vague. I would like to know what those circumstances are. And also for the following, so like posting of security satisfactory to the county. Well, what constitutes satisfactory to you guys? I mean, how would these circumstances be established, and does the history of any given event factor into that? It says that buildings have to be inspected if we have something in a building. Doesn't really affect me personally, but I wonder if building inspectors, if there's enough building inspectors for that. And let's see, moving right along here. It's okay. So with the regards to submitting an application, and I submit mine quite a bit early because it's probably around 6 months before the event, and the window of 2 weeks approval, 2 weeks before the event, it's not enough, because if we're going to have to change things or make adjustments, 2 weeks is not enough time to actually make those changes, as I have found out twice this year. So it says we shall include a security plan for approval. Does that come with the application? Is that required with the application? And are small events and gatherings adversely affected by having to come up with that before? Because like with my events, it doesn't really, sometimes there's 50 vendors, sometimes there's 150 vendors. And I really don't know that before probably a month out. So that's really all I have to say about that. But the security pay, we'd really like to see that a little more well-defined, because while right now you say it probably won't affect us, what kind of security do you want us to have? I've never had an incident. And I would just like to make sure that that comes under consideration while you're thinking about the details of this bill.
Okay.
And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, how about we make sure that Mr. Malinoff gets your contact information, Lynn? And then that way he can speak with you directly about your concerns.
All right.
Okay, that work?
That would be fine. Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Thanks.
Thank you, Lynn.
Chris, next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, our next speaker is William Fuhrer. Mr. Fuhrer?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and County Council members. My name is William Fuhrer, and I'm the chair of the Dundalk Independence Day Committee. Concerning Bill 9720, I speak for the Dundalk Parade Committee. As chair of the Greater Baltimore Multi-Parade Committee, which includes several Baltimore County parades and Harford County parades, and as an active resident of Eastern Baltimore County, and urging you to table and continue working on modifications of the bill or to vote against it. In speaking to the chair of 5 other Baltimore County parades, I know that none of them were consulted or engaged in conversation on the impact this may have until Councilman Crandall informed me of it and I informed them. This is a one-sided conversation with only county agencies and personnel asked to weigh in. I strongly urge you to do more research and speak to those people who do these events. Many parade committees do other events besides a parade, whether it's a foot race, a soap derby box race, There's Essex Day Festival, there's the Heritage Fair, there's fireworks. I'm disappointed that there was contact with carnivals, but there was no contact with any of these other committees. Although I believe the intentions of the bill are not to harm parades, there are many unintended consequences that have been mentioned before. I, as well as our parade committee, wholly support and appreciate the Baltimore County Police Department and everything they do, but we know that we put a strain on them on the 4th of July. Independence Day festivities in Baltimore County are numerous and very well attended. We are a very patriotic community. There are foot races, parades, festivals, and fireworks, all celebrating the independence of our great nation. I believe the 4th may be the largest resource drain on the county as far as officers, emergency services, and traffic control. But I've heard from many police officers the relationships, publicity, and image that they build on the day interacting with county residents in a beneficial, positive way. Dundalk has had an 86 continuous year tradition of holding a parade to celebrate the 4th. Many residents, as well as former residents, make plan to attend the event in conjunction with the Heritage Fair and the fireworks of which were mentioned. The Dundalk Parade Committee works very closely with Towson, Catonsville, Arbutus, and Bel Air to bring quality marching bands and performers, but this is only possible if bands could make a circuit and be paid by a few committees. If the parades had to be held on different days, because there are provisions in this bill to allow a permit to be denied, then that would not allow some bands to perform because they wouldn't be making that circuit, so it would be less. Section 21-9-106, B1 and 2 says the applications for permits are based on when they and the fees are received. Does that mean that a parade could be denied a permit? Section 2 says if the county determines available resources are not substantial, then the permit could be denied. I know this year the police chief wanted to have sand trucks, Jersey walls, and a mobile command center. Would the parade committees or the fairs or festivals be responsible for paying for those items? This now makes each event more resource draining and would likely incur a denial of a permit. Maybe not now, but in the future with unintended consequences. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will. Yeah.
Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker, Madam Chair, is Jack Malani. Mr. Malani?
Yes, thank you. Jack Malani, representing Catonsville 4th of July Committee. I'm not going to echo what's been said. I do have a few questions I wish you guys would take up. I'm still seeing a conflict here where the fireworks aren't part of this, but the gathering permit that goes with it is part of this bill. So if we have fireworks and we pull the gathering permit, how would we be exempted from this bill? You know, and maybe it is, but I would love to have some clarification on that. I would also just reiterate the approval does need to be a little earlier because, you know, as volunteers, we raise a lot of money and spend a lot of money on behalf of the community. When we get to a certain point, that money's committed. So if our permit was denied within 14 days, we probably can't recover a lot of that money. And I know that the intentions of this bill are good. I think, like all the other speakers, the unintended consequences. And again, Mr. Malinoff, I'm sure you're very sincere and I believe you, but I don't know who sits in your chair in the future. So I'd really like this, that we could just take our time, maybe have input from these committees, some type of calls maybe with those parties that are affected, and try to work with you to make this bill clean and one we know that will be interpreted the same today as it will in 10 years from now. So we're more than willing. We thank the administration and the council. You guys have really been working with us, trying to find the right answers. And I would just ask at this time, maybe slow down the process. Let's gather some better input and really try to work together to make sure this is going to do exactly what we want it to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have one more speaker, Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, Madam Chair, one more speaker, and that would be Ms. Nancy Hafford. And
Whoop, whoop.
her.
Yeah.
Ms. Hafford?
Whoop, whoop. That's
Whoop,
all I can
whoop.
say.
Good
I just-
representation, Kathy, right?
Uh-huh. Just
Yeah.
yes.
I cannot thank you all enough. I am so grateful when I've heard all your comments tonight. Councilwoman Bevins and fellow chair people, that you truly understand how important community events are to Baltimore County. They give our areas sense of place. As you know, I'm the director of the Chamber of Commerce, but I meet monthly virtually now with all the chambers and business groups around Baltimore County, or most of them. And these are the lifelines for them. And it brings their community together. It sets them apart from others. And I really agree with a lot of the people that spoke before me about saying, I think we might need to pause and just say, what could the unintended consequences be? Because like for all of us, if we had to cancel an event, 15 days or 20 days ahead of time, that would be catastrophic for us. And then there's other times when we need to put on events because, it's good for our community and we might come in a little quicker than the 60-day notice. So I'm just asking that we pause, because like a couple years ago, I had, well, more than that, like maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, I had Towson University do an economic impact on the festival that we do in Towson. It brings millions into our community. So if we look at it, it's not just about a fair or a festival. They bring people that shop in restaurants, dine in restaurants, shop in shops, and experience places that they might not have seen before. Like Councilwoman Bevins, the East Side, so many people from Arbutus and Towson, they go to events there and they realize how great it is there. Or people from your side go to Arbutus and they see how great that is. If we're trying to build tourism in Baltimore County, doing things that can adversely affect community events, I think would have an extremely negative impact. I thank you all for your time, and I greatly appreciate your service to Baltimore County.
Thank you, Nancy. Don't go anywhere. I did have a question. While you were talking, I was just thinking about the farmers market that you do. It's a weekly event. It goes on for several months. Would that be affected by this, Mr.
I have no
Malinow?
idea. That's the one thing we don't
No,
know.
I don't see how it would, because
It's permitted,
it's
right?
permitted. It's normally submitted well in advance of an event, and
Okay.
it would be a known quantity.
Okay.
And plus that's where I get my vegetables.
Right. I'm just saying.
Okay, well, we can't stop that then. Can't stop that.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Marks.
so following up on that, so the feast on the street, would that be affected?
That's a good question.
Which event is that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The chamber puts that on from May to October, correct, Nancy?
Yeah, but it's not just me. When we started, and I stole that event from the Bel Air and White Marsh and other areas, but they started Friday night festivals all over Baltimore County. And how will it affect all those groups? I don't know. So it's not just I'm worried about me. We just don't. How is it going to affect those kind of events too?
Yeah, I don't see how they would. As I mentioned, I came from communities that had tremendous numbers of events, and I don't see that this bill would affect those types of events at all. But I understand your concerns, and it gives us time to be able to review and work with you to make the bill the best that's possible.
That's all we ask. We're so very grateful for that. Thank you very, very much.
And Nancy, since you're before the council, I want to give you a chance to toot your own horn. How many people usually come to the Towson Town Spring Festival? And aren't you among the largest on the East Coast?
Well, what happened
Pre-COVID,
this year, yeah. At points we had 250,000 people, and all of our events in our community brought 500,000 people into town every year. And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of our community, and not just Towson, but of all of Baltimore County. And, as I said before, I work with all the chambers and business groups, but we're all in it together. It's not about one area, Towson, Dundalk, Arbutus and Catonsville. We all work together for the best of our communities. So
Very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Is that all the speakers, Ms. Belcastro?
Yes, Madam Chair, that's all the speakers for this agenda
Okay.
item.
Okay.
Chair.
Okay. Any other concerns, questions, comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've just heard from representatives of some of Baltimore County's annual events that are well-known and well-run. My question for Mr. Malinoff, Mike, can you give me some examples of problems that we're trying to solve with this bill? I notice you have litter control, you've got damaging county property, you have security plans. Can you give us specific examples of events in Baltimore County? You don't have to say, exactly what they were, but what has happened that makes legislation like this necessary?
I think primarily it started when there was an event in a certain part of the county where there might have been the need for police service that wasn't adequately addressed by the provider, and the police department found it very difficult to be able to control. There were a lot of complaints from the neighborhood. So I really think the idea is just to give our public safety departments primarily the opportunity to review the plan that's being provided by the provider, and then if necessary, what role they have to play. And that's what I would say.
That's the key issue then that you'd like to address is the security issue with these events, correct?
Correct.
Right. I mean, as far as toilet facilities, as far as litter and things like that, that's not necessarily a problem, or?
Well, I mean, it does come up in events. You need to make sure you have enough
but,
porta-johns and trash containers and recycling and the like. But public safety and the cost associated with providing it and being able to staff it because of the staffing requirements of our public safety departments.
So we really need to put emphasis on that particular issue. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I think Councilman Bevins is muted.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm sure that if any other council members or our constituents have any other concerns, we'll reach out to you before Monday.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next item on page 5. We have David Bykoff, our chief fire battalion chief. I said that backwards, didn't I? You know who you are. You're the big guy. You're the big guy at fire department. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. The administration is requesting a supplemental appropriation of federal funds in the amount of $1 million. The department was awarded a grant through the Assistance to Firefighters Supplemental Grant Program. This grant was specifically to purchase PPE as a result of the needs that came out of the pandemic. And the fire department will be using these funds to purchase PPE for our first responders, including both our career and volunteer members. The exact type and quantity of the PPE will be determined based on inventories when we go to make these purchases in the next month or so. There is no match for this grant, so there is no current or future encumbrance on the county.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the members? All right, hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, members of the council.
Yep, take care. Okay, next item on the agenda. Let's see, we have Mr. Drew Vetter with us this afternoon, the Deputy County Administrator. Mr. Vetter,
Hi,
you there?
good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Good afternoon. I'm Drew Vetter, Deputy County Administrative Officer, here to present Council Bill 102-20 regarding prevailing wage and local hiring on behalf of the administration. This bill would do two primary things. First, prevailing wage. It requires the prevailing wage to be paid for all county-funded capital projects valued at $300,000 and above, or county-subsidized capital projects receiving assistance of $5 million. And two, local hiring. It requires that at least 51% of all new jobs required to complete a prevailing wage eligible project to be filled by Baltimore County residents. Like the prevailing wage, the local hiring requirement applies to capital improvement contracts over $300,000 and county subsidized capital projects receiving assistance of $5 million. This bill is all about supporting Baltimore County workers and jobs. The county's 6-year capital budget generates $1.6 billion in construction spending. This bill would ensure that those dollars and the related jobs are supporting Baltimore County workers and families. I want to briefly highlight some of the details of the bill. The first section, 10-2-506, covers the prevailing wage. Notably, this section defines prevailing wage as the basic hourly rate and fringe benefit rate established annually by the State Commissioner of Labor and Industry for state-funded construction contracts in the county. It specifies that this section applies to, as I stated before, capital improvement contracts over $300,000 and county subsidized capital projects receiving assistance over $5 million. It contains various exceptions where the prevailing wage requirement does not apply. It mandates that any contractor and subcontractor that performs direct and measurable construction work on a capital improvement contract must pay each employee at a rate equal to or more than the prevailing wage currently in effect for the type of work performed. It requires each contractor and subcontractor to submit a certified complete copy of its payroll records for work performed to the Director of the Department of Economic and Workforce Development within 14 days after the end of each payroll period. It gives the director the authority to impose penalties for violations of the prevailing wage requirement, as well as a process to appeal the director's findings and penalties, and requires the department to annually publish and post a report on prevailing wage compliance on the county's website. The second section of the bill, 10-2-507, covers the local hiring portion of the bill. The highlights of this section include that the local hiring requirement applies the same thresholds as the prevailing wage section, mandates that at least 51% of the new jobs required to complete a project must be filled by Baltimore County residents, specifies that there are two ways that contractors can satisfy this local hiring requirement: by the cumulative of all hours worked or met by each beneficiary covered in each individual subcontractor, lays out the circumstances where the department may waive or lower the local hiring requirement, specifically if a good faith effort to comply has been made, if the beneficiary is located outside the Baltimore metro area and none of the work is performed inside the Baltimore metro area, if the beneficiary has entered into a satisfactory special workforce development training or placement arrangement with the department, or if there are insufficient numbers of Baltimore County residents in the labor market who possess the skills required by the new jobs needed to be filled for the capital improvement contract or capital project. And lastly, requires contractors and subcontractors to submit reports to the county with detailed information about each new job and the total number of Baltimore County residents employed. The administration believes that the prevailing wage and local hiring requirements are good public policy that will directly benefit Baltimore County working families. If enacted, Baltimore County would not be alone with this type of law. Baltimore City, Charles County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and the state of Maryland all have prevailing wage laws. The economic impact would be significant. It would ensure that Baltimore County residents are benefiting from Baltimore County public spending. A study performed by Pinnacle Economics concluded that county residents can expect to see net gains in jobs, work hours, and income as a result of this legislation. The study also found that there would be significant secondary impacts that would benefit the broader Baltimore County economy. Benefiting local workers and families, as well as supporting the broader Baltimore County economy, are especially important given the economic strain to lower and middle income families caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. And for all of these above reasons, we respectfully request the council's favorable consideration of this bill. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vetter. Well, my first comment is, holy cow, it's finally here. It's been, I know, 10 years since I've been in office. This has been talked about, and even before that. So I'm glad this is finally in front of us. We do have about 5 or 6 speakers, so let's take care of the members first on any comments or questions. And yes, Councilman Catch, looks like you're ready.
Thank you very much. Mr. Vetter, first of all, I think the 51% requirement for workers who live in Baltimore County is an excellent idea. Obviously, those people will be paying taxes and also, of course, property taxes. And I'm sure that will help us to, that will subsidize to some degree the increases in costs that prevailing wage brings to government capital projects. On the state level, of course, this has been an issue that was around every year that I was in the legislature. I've seen studies from the labor unions showing anywhere from 2 to 5% increase in cost due to prevailing wage. I've seen studies from ABC, which is a non-union group of contractors, and I've seen 10 to 15%. What, in your estimation, considering the fact that we are going to require 51% of these employees to be from the county, do you have any idea what the increase in the cost of capital projects in Baltimore County will be?
So certainly we acknowledge that there may be a modest cost impact as a result of this proposal, and there are lots of studies, some of them conflicting, that are out there on this. But we will say that, you know, as you said, this issue has been studied extensively at the state level and at the national level. And, you know, based on what we have seen, there's a growing body of economic analysis to find that prevailing wage regulations do not substantially impact costs. And there are a number of factors that may explain this, including that some contractors may be paying the wages required under the prevailing wage laws already. You know, labor costs are also not the most dominant cost in government construction contracts. They're roughly, you know, 20 to 30% of construction contracts. So a small increase in wages represents an even smaller share of total contract costs. And I think that's where that 2 to 5% figure comes from, which I would note doesn't just come from labor groups. I saw a report from the State Department of Legislative Services that reached the same conclusion in terms of cost impact of prevailing wage. We've also seen that higher wages can be offset by gains in productivity, and there are a number of factors that go into that. So, you know, there is disagreement in terms of, you know, what the cost impact will be. I can't tell you exactly what our experience will be in Baltimore County. I can say, again, that we wouldn't be alone in having this type of law. In places like Baltimore City, Charles County, Montgomery County, Prince George's County, the state of Maryland, have been able to sort of absorb the impacts of this law to date. So, you know, I think we feel strongly that any sort of negative impact is going to be vastly outweighed by the benefits to workers from this proposal.
Let me ask you, I think one of the problems we have as a county is our county school system does not really put an emphasis on vocational education and training people for these various fields. So I would hope that the county executive and the administration would work with the school system in an effort to persuade them to, in our schools, to train students who want to do this kind of work, that they be able to graduate from high school, whatever, and have the qualifications to perform these jobs. I mean, I know labor unions provide training. I'm sure that with prevailing wage, there probably would be some training. So I think that we have a long way to go. And I've seen the numbers as to what Carroll County spends on its schools, what Baltimore County spends, and Baltimore City, and our schools are fairly expensive. I'll put you that way. So will you please have Johnny, let's push this with the school system so that we will have Baltimore Countyans ready to take these jobs.
Yeah, Councilman Catch, thanks for those comments. I think that's an excellent point. And that, as you know, we have a new director of our Department of Economic and Workforce Development coming on board very shortly. And Mr. Howie certainly has a extensive background and a lot of credentials in workforce and in labor. And I think that's certainly something that we could engage with him on as he starts. I think that's an excellent point. And to the extent we're able to cultivate workers, certainly that's going to help meet our local hiring goals in this legislation. So thank you for that comment.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So on this issue of prevailing wage, I agree with Mr. Vetter and the issues he's brought forward, and I appreciate the administration bringing this issue to the council. I was reading some studies on the benefits of prevailing wage, and one that was done by the Economic Policy Institute, and it lists a variety of benefits, but two that really stood out to me were the increased local revenues that come to the jurisdiction, and also to Councilman Catch's point, another benefit, and I'm sure we'll hear this from some of the speakers that are in attendance today, is it increases the pool of skilled construction workers to benefit both the public and the construction industry. So all of that means energizing our economy and producing a workforce with a greater skill level. And so I'm not going to go through all the points in the study, but I think that that is pretty clear to me that this is the direction that Baltimore County ought to be going. Again, appreciate the administration bringing it forward. And again, I think we'll have a stronger workforce from this, and it'll be a benefit to all of us that live, work here, and play in Baltimore County.
Thank you, Councilman.
Madam Chair.
Yes,
Yes, I too would like to just congratulate the administration for bringing forth the prevailing wage bill. What I know is people deserve a decent pay for honest day's work. That's what I know. And I know that when people get paid a decent wage for their honest day's work, it's better for them, their families, and our community. So many times I go out of my way because I will shop at places where employees are treated fairly. Given the choice, I'm willing to pay a few extra dollars to make sure that the employees that are serving me or waiting on me or working in the establishment is being paid a decent wage, because I just think it's so important to them, their families, and our larger community. So I look forward to supporting this bill because I know that it will benefit so many employees that come and work very, very hard. And unfortunately, because of the way things are right now, they may not be getting a decent wage. So if we can help them in any way, I look forward to doing it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, we talk all the time as a group about trade schools and wanting trade schools in our county, and having one, especially in the east side of Baltimore County. And we have so many schools out there that have, you know, they go through their journeymanship, and, you know, they go to school for 2-4 years and they come out and they can't make a day's decent wage. So why are we sending them to these trade schools? And, you know, why are we setting them up for failure to then come out and not be paid a decent wage? And we all know that by limiting this to Baltimore County, the money stays here. I always go back to a story that I know the county executive will relate to, is when they were building Dundalk Senior High School and the new Solid Point High School. What a shame. It was just a shame to have within 2 miles, 4 union locals surrounding that area. Right down the street was Merritt. At the Iron Workers, we had 2 brand new schools built with not using one person, not even within Baltimore County, within the state of Maryland. It went to a Pennsylvania outfit. So every day from Pennsylvania, you know, down to Baltimore County, they came and they worked for 2 years building 2 schools and really not spending money here, money not staying here. They went right back to Pennsylvania, tearing up our roads and maybe getting a tank of gas or a sandwich at lunchtime. And it was really a shame that that happened. So that makes me, you know, consider this even more than I would have ever done before, because we really need to figure out a way to keep the money that people make in the jurisdiction. We'll all be better for it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, Chris, I'm getting terrible feedback here. Noise, now it stopped. Thank you. I don't know what you did, but it stopped.
I worked my magic. All is well.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Mr. Vetter before we get on to the speakers?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Court.
Yeah, I do have one question for Drew Vetter. I heard you say this might be a modest increase in cost, but from your own analysis, the numbers potentially show 32 million to 80 million in cost over 6 years. And from my experience, if we're trying to increase jobs in Baltimore County, whenever you increase cost in the system, you don't increase jobs. Unfortunately, jobs decrease when costs go up. So I was wondering if this modest increase you were referencing is the 32 million to 80 million that you quoted in your own study.
So thank you, Councilman. I think that is 32 million to 82 million out of a total capital construction budget of 1.6 million. So within the total context, it is a smaller amount. And I don't think that we can project with precision exactly what the cost impact may be. But again, this issue has been studied extensively in jurisdictions where it has been implemented, including in other jurisdictions here in Maryland. And, you know, they have shown that the costs do tend to be modest. And there are a number of reasons for that, including offsets by gains in productivity. And I know that some members of the other speakers that are following me are going to speak to those impacts as well.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Marks, unmute yourself. Councilor Marks, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. So I'm reading this section. It says this section applies to county subsidized capital projects receiving assistance over $500,000. So that's public school construction, correct? Because obviously we're subsidizing school projects.
So my understanding, Councilman, is that schools are already required to pay prevailing wage through the state prevailing wage law.
Okay, okay. Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, Ms. Belcastro, let's move on to our first speakers.
Yes, Madam Chair. Our first speaker this evening is Esmeralda Aguilar. Ms. Aguilar?
Yes, thank you. My name is Esmeralda Aguilar. I'm a partner at the law firm of Sherman Dunn in DC, and I'm appearing today on behalf of the Baltimore DC Building Trades Unions, which is a labor organization composed of 28 unions in the area that represent thousands of workers in the construction industry. The mission of the trades is to raise the standard of living for middle-class construction workers and their families. Part of this work involves supporting legislation that protects local labor standards and grows job opportunities for local workers. This bill does exactly that. It is a minimum wage law that protects construction workers by prohibiting contractors on certain county projects from paying less than the locally prevailing wage. By establishing a wage floor, this law prevents cutthroat bidding in public construction from producing a race to the bottom in local wages and benefits. Simply put, this law forces contractors to compete on the basis of merit, not on the basis of who can assemble the cheapest and most exploitable workforce. Prevailing wage laws are especially important in states that have a high cost of living, because they keep blue-collar construction workers from falling behind. In fact, studies have shown that poverty among construction workers is far worse in jurisdictions with weakened or non-existing prevailing wage laws. Prevailing wage laws also help, and this goes to Mr. Catch's point, these laws help develop the next generation of skilled trades workers by incentivizing contractors to hire apprentices enrolled in government-sanctioned programs. Prevailing wage laws such as this permit contractors to pay apprentices a reduced wage rate, which motivates contractors on public works to provide on-the-job training opportunities for apprentices. Academic research, which I've included in my written testimony, also shows that by rooting out low-road contractors, prevailing wage laws improve workplace safety. And of course, these laws stimulate the economy because when workers earn more, they spend more. For these reasons, over 20 states, including Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and many others have prevailing wage laws, and countless local governments across the nation have similar requirements, including Baltimore City, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and Charles County. And if I could just quickly address this question about costs. The preponderance of peer-reviewed studies, and I've included this in my written testimony, concludes that prevailing wage laws have no significant effect on overall project costs. This is due in large part to the well-known economics principle of efficiency wages. Under that business model, hiring and retaining the industry's most productive workers at living wages promotes greater efficiency by reducing labor hours and employee turnover rates. The argument that prevailing wage laws increase costs relies on the flawed assumption that the only way a contractor can minimize labor costs is by reducing the cost per hour of each worker. This is simply false.
Thank you for your testimony. You're over your 3 minutes. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, next speaker is Spencer Matusky. Mr. Matusky?
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, I'm a second generation Baltimore County contractor. We actually participate in some of the programs you mentioned. We have students from Delaney and Eastern Votech currently that are working their way as interns, and we have one that was formerly an intern that's now an apprentice with us. We compete all the time on prevailing wage jobs in other jurisdictions, and I've found that they make it a better competition pool with more qualified contractors. In order to do the paperwork of prevailing wage and the certified payroll, just requires a slightly higher level of sophistication to the contractor, which gets you a better qualified contractor. You know, the costs that we're all speaking of are bid cost. The cost that often gets overlooked is you get the wrong contractor on the job, and the job goes bad. Dealing with bonding companies and other companies to get the job corrected can result in an exponential increase to the cost of the job towards the end when you're out of your budget and out of your planned expenses. We employ a lot of Baltimore County residents. One thing I didn't hear in the bill that I've seen elsewhere is often there's a requirement for participation similar to an MBE participation, but a participation for local business interests. So companies such as mine that are headquartered in Baltimore County, you know, pay rent and taxes and everything in Baltimore County. So that's something that could be added. But as a job provider and contractor in the county, I'm in favor of this because I just think it brings better contractors to the table and better product for the county. It's the dollars are more better well spent on a higher quality product, less likely to have maintenance and warranty repairs and other issues down the road with the quality installation from the beginning. Thank you all for your time.
Would you like to give your construction business a plug?
Sure. We're Flowtron Contracting. We're right in the heart of Hum Valley at the corner of Beaver and Warren Dam, Beaver Dam and Warren Road. And we specialize in commercial contracting. And actually, we just got on the Baltimore County Public Schools contract for boiler work and HVAC work.
Very good. Very good. Thank you for calling in today.
Thank you.
Ms. Belcastro, next speaker.
Our next speaker is Rick Benetti. Mr. Benetti?
Yep, here I am.
Yes, you may begin.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the County Council. My name is Rick Benetti. I'm here representing Lionis Baltimore Washington District Council and as a member of Laborers Local 710. We represent about 1,000 construction workers living in the Baltimore metropolitan area, many of whom who live in Baltimore County. Our members are construction workers who build roads, bridges, public water and wastewater systems, and much more public infrastructure. And it's that kind of public infrastructure that's critical to Baltimore's local economy. So we're asking for your support today on this bill. I think Esmeralda and Spencer and even Mr. Vetter hit the big points. But I just want to sort of reiterate that prevailing wage is a tool that governments can use to incentivize construction companies that are awarded these contracts to invest in a way that creates quality apprenticeship training programs while at the same time paying family sustaining wages, and also making sure that workers get really quality family health care. And I think all of those things put together have a direct impact on Baltimore County's economy. So we estimate through our study, which I've attached to my testimony, that this will help create approximately 850 jobs and 650 million in additional income throughout Baltimore County's construction economy and local economy, and bring in roughly $6 million in tax revenue over the next 5 or 6 fiscal years. So the key for us is, is that apprenticeship piece and creating that incentive for businesses to reinvest in a pipeline of workers. So if government does what it can to create a pipeline of work and job opportunity, then naturally contractors will invest in creating a pipeline of apprentices to fill a pipeline of jobs. And it creates a cycle of employment that really is second to none in terms of true workforce development. Take a laborer, for example. A laborer's work is really, really hard, but it's easily learned, right? So for our contractors, a county prevailing wage means they're helping to create meaningful employment opportunities for people who are underemployed or need to learn a new skill or have barriers to employment, like a lack of high school diploma, or those folks returning from incarceration. So they're investing the right way in the right people and making sure that there's a way to bring more people into the middle class for Baltimore County's economy, which we think benefits everybody. So especially in these critical times for Baltimore County's working families with the COVID and hopefully post-COVID times coming up, we urge your support, your favorable support on this bill. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Vachoka.
I just have a comment from Mr. Benetti. Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Benetti. And also the things you said are consistent with the studies I've read. So it helps it shape up in my mind. And I hope for other council members that the testimony we're hearing today is consistent with the studies that are out there related to prevailing wage. So thank you again, Mr. Benetti.
Thank you, Councilman.
Next speaker, please.
Madam Chair, next speaker is Jermaine Jones. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. You may begin your testimony.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Chairwoman, members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to testify in front of you. My name is Jermaine Jones. I am president of the Metro Baltimore AFL-CIO. We are the coalition of labor unions representing the metropolitan Baltimore area. We represent a little over 150 different local unions, ranging from your teachers, the nurses, the firefighters, to also your electricians, your carpenters, your plumbers. We represent a little over 150,000 members within the metropolitan Baltimore area. And every day we fight to ensure workers are treated fairly at work, ensuring that they receive an honest day's pay for a hard day's work, have access to affordable health care, and some kind of retirement security that they can depend on. And I'm here today to highlight 3 major reasons why we support this bill and ask for you to support it as well. The first reason is because I strongly believe that if an individual goes to work every day, they should not be dependent upon an assistant program like SNAP. And believe it or not, this is the reality for many workers. But in counties that have prevailing wage in place, there is much less likelihood of that happening in construction. The second reason we support this bill is because it helps strengthen and support the middle class. When this country, the economy was at its best and strongest, we had a strong, healthy middle class, and prevailing wage supports the creation of a healthy middle class by providing good wages and benefits for workers. And besides, when the county decides to spend taxpayers' dollars, they should go towards providing good jobs, so counties can support them, so county residents can support themselves and their families. Just think about it. it's crazy for the county to spend their money to create jobs that also that depend on people to rely upon assistance programs. And prevailing wage will help stop that, as I mentioned earlier. Lastly, as a country, we still fight against racial and gender prejudices, which often reveal their ugly heads at the workplace in the presence of workers' paychecks. Currently, the median salary for a man is roughly 19% higher than the median salary for a woman. And in fact, when all compensable factors such as experience, industry, and job level are accounted for, men somehow still make more money than women. And what that means is that men and women with the same employment characteristics doing the same job, women somehow still earn less money for every dollar earned as a man does. And prevailing wage helps to fight and eliminate that. And it's for those three reasons I strongly urge you to support this legislation. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Sure. Madam Chair, our next speaker is John Cannon. Well, Mr. Cannon was on our attendee list earlier, but he is no longer on.
Okay, can we go to the next speaker?
That he was the last
Oh,
speaker.
he was the last.
Madam
Okay,
Chair,
thank
for
you.
this item. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Vetter, do you have anything to say before we conclude?
Nothing further from me, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Just thank you to you and the council for your consideration of this bill.
Madam
Okay,
Chairman, it's Wade.
yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, I have a question for Drew or any of the other witnesses. The requirement that 51% of the jobs go to Baltimore Countyans. Do the counties like Montgomery, Baltimore City, Prince George's, Charles, I think that maybe Howard, I don't know. Do they have the 51% requirement, and how is it working? Are they able to employ 51% of their local residents, or is it an issue?
So I would note that the prevailing wage component of the bill is separate and distinct from the local hiring component of the bill. I know that Baltimore City has a local hiring requirement as well. I do not have information on how frequently they're able to achieve that number, but certainly that is some research that we could do.
All right, because obviously the more successful that is, ultimately the less money it's going to cost us to pay the prevailing wage, because we're going to have these people paying taxes in the county. So I'd be curious if that has been successful. So thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Batoka.
Just a comment for Councilman Catch on the 51% requirement. I think there's a dual benefit. The first benefit is certainly, as you mentioned, the taxable component, but the indirect economic benefit is also can be substantial, where the worker shops, where the worker takes his family or her family to dinner, and that all builds upon itself as greater they're economic catalysts for each other, and I think it benefits the county at the end of the day.
And if I might say that the conversation on prevailing wage has really evolved over the years, and this requirement of 51% is really a good addition to this legislation, and it does, to my way of thinking, give more impetus possibly to prevailing wage. So something that I've opposed every year. But let me just say that I am rethinking it, because I can see some of the advantages. So I've not made up my mind, but the conversation has changed drastically. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Uh, Thank you very much. I think what Councilman Patoka was alluding to is the idea of induced jobs or induced economic effects. You know, every project has direct economic impacts to the construction workers, indirect effects those that are supplying the raw material, and then these induced effects as the impacts of wages and salaries circulate throughout the economy. And you know, I was just looking at this map of the United States and states that have the prevailing wage, and you know, there are quite a number of high growth states that have prevailing wages. Texas is one, Missouri, Washington State, Oregon. These are all what I would consider to be pretty high growth states. So I think there may be some value to this. The other thing I'm kind of struck by is that no one testified against it. I mean, I thought this would be a very controversial hearing, and we didn't hear anyone opposed to it. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Council.
I would, if I can just jump in on this conversation with my colleagues. You know, I don't think in a lot of cases the cost will go up too much or at all, because what we're really talking about is making sure that the workers that are doing the jobs that we're hiring them to do are being paid a decent wage, and it's not some race to the bottom. So the responsible employer who pays his employees a decent wage are constantly at a disadvantage when they have to compete with the company who gets any person he or she can find to sit out there and do these jobs and pay them the least that they can, and then in turn end up getting a lesser product. And then we see cost overruns and all sorts of other problems down the road with the quality of work that we paid for. And then in the end, we're fixing something. So I think by having a prevailing wage, you're leveling the playing field, and you're making everybody come to the table with a reasonable paid workforce that is being paid for the job that they are doing. And then those monies come back to our community in terms of, you know, people being able to take care of their families. I think it's crazy in our society that we have people that work 40 hours a week and then have to end up on some type of assistance because they can't make ends meet. Yet they're working harder than most of us, or certainly as hard as many of us. So the other thing is, if it means that, because it's been my experience, when these companies do this by hiring the cheapest employer, oftentimes that savings don't even come back to us. That savings manifests itself in profits into their pocket. So they don't turn around and give us some discount. They just exploit the workers and keep as much money in their pockets as they can. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay, thank you. All right. Can we move on to the next bill? Our next item? We have no more speakers, correct?
Correct, Madam Chair.
Okay, hold on one second. I died. I didn't die, my iPad died. Hold on. Okay, next I believe we're moving down to I got it. Hold on. Mr. Benjamin, we're on page 45, resolution 119-20.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. Resolution 119-20 seeks approval for the continuation of a local state of emergency initially declared by the county executive on March 13th, 2020. On March 13th, 2020, the county executive declared a state of emergency existing in Baltimore County due to COVID-19. On March 16th, 2020, the county council authorized a continuation of that state of emergency with the approval of resolution 37-20. The council has subsequently authorized a continuation of the state of emergency with the approval of resolutions 47-20, 52-20, 71-20, 78-20, 90-20, and 102-20, which is set to expire on November 6, 2020. It is likely that the state of emergency will continue past November 6, 2020. As such, the resolution seeks the continuation of the state of emergency for an additional 35 days beyond November 6, 2020, which would end on December 11th, 2020, or when the county executive declares an end to the state of emergency, whichever occurs first. State of emergency was proclaimed by Governor Hogan on March 5th. It was most recently renewed on October 6th, and that state of emergency issued by Governor Hogan is still in effect. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there any questions or comments from the members for Mr. Benjamin? Okay, thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
You too.
Next item is on page 46.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we
I'm
had,
sorry.
we had 5 speakers sign up for this item. However, we only have 1 that's on from the list of speakers that registered. I'm sorry.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
You're welcome. Just very quickly, Anna Pullen, a Joe Capper, a Christine Marr, and a Carrie Legg all signed up to speak, but none of them are on our attendee list. However, Ms. Ruth Getz did sign up to speak, and she is in attendance, so I'm going to call upon her.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Getz, you may begin your testimony.
Hi, thank you. I'm sorry the other people aren't able to testify.
Can't hear her.
Ms. Getz, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Here.
very lowly though. Very low.
Is this better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry the other people weren't signed up properly and aren't able to. First, I would like to, I would like to have it not, the size of the virus is 0.01 micron. A mask does nothing to prevent the virus, like throwing sand at a chain link fence. Some sand will protect all of it. Doctors say masks do not work. There's no science to dehumanize us and cause less interaction with people by not seeing their smiles or facial expressions. We are not responsible for other people's health. You can take care of yourself, and I need to take care of myself. It's time to stop controlling our lives with fear of health risk. It's time to let our children go back to school without restrictions of any kind. Remove saying plexiglass interferes on their desks, interferes with their learning skills. Elderly parents living in assisted homes need to have face-to-face visits once again. Please have mercy on our elderly suffered days of their lives. It's a sin to punish them with confinement and remove them from their loved ones. We need to stop the restrictions on businesses. Let them run their businesses freely. There have been 2 deaths of children in Maryland, supposedly from the virus. But at the same time, there have been children who died from vaccine injuries, car accidents, cancers, and we've never closed schools. The number of adults between the ages of 20 and 50 that have supposedly died from this virus is under 200. This does not warrant an emergency. Someone getting the virus nowadays is no longer a death sentence. There are preventive medicines and vitamins available. More people have had the virus and survived than have died. It's time to stop the fear-mongering and bullying of our citizens. People were getting sick before the virus, and the county never shut down. The past 2 months, there have been no deaths due to the virus. We will never have 0 cases. It's the amount of deaths by virus that's important. Cases should not be a determination of our fear and reason for the state of emergency. Please consider the unintended consequences that we're suffering of suicide, drug addiction, alcoholism, child abuse, and depression. We need to open our county. Enough of living under the fear of illness and not being allowed to function freely. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that was, as I said, she was the only speaker who registered who's in attendance.
Off.
I'm sorry?
They had dropped off. They were waiting and then.
Either maybe they were waiting on at one time. I didn't look for those issues. The only reason Mr. Cannon came to my attention that I knew he was on earlier is because he asked a question earlier, but he was no longer on, so.
Okay, we're gonna move on. Our next item is on page 46. And we have Mr. Gutwald.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council. I'm here to speak to Resolution 120-20, the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation easements. The administration is requesting approval of the county's contribution towards the state's purchase of 7 easements totaling approximately 600 acres through the foundation's FY 2020 easement cycle. If you recall, on September of 2019, the council approved 15 easements, recommended easements applications to be submitted to the state for the purchase, purchase consideration on Resolution 104-19. These are 7 of those 15 properties that you recommended for easement applications to go to the state. The request would provide approximately $1.5 million, a little over $1.5 million of county matching funds to the state for the purchase of 6 easements, one which is not requiring a county match is being completely funded by the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation. The combined purchase price of the easements total a little over $4.3 million. 6 of the easements are located in the 3rd Councilmanic District, and one of them in the London property is located in the 4th Councilmanic District. That is my testimony if there's questions.
Thank you. Anybody have a question or a comment besides what a great job planning does? Councilmember Toka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I was going to say that until I didn't hear that there was any ag pres in the 2nd Councilmanic District.
That's coming up in the next cycle.
All right, then you're doing a great job, Pete, and tell everybody at planning you're doing a great job.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Pete, can you tell me where we are as far as how many did these go through? How many acres then have been preserved? Our goal is 80,000.
Yeah, we're at 67,000, a little over 67,000, 67,051 with these. Yep.
Thank you.
We're good.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr.
Madam Chair, sorry. I was muted. Sorry. In all seriousness, we talked about this in September, Mr. Gottwald. As we look at future applications, will we be looking at diversity in terms of council districts?
Yeah, we just went through a process of looking at our ranking formula, and I spoke to staff about your comments at the last, and that's something we may need to look at is that ranking formula. We just modified it this past year, and based on your comments, I thought, well, we may have to take another look at that based on, you know, the diversity and the equity across the county. So I will take a look at that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gutwald. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move on to, where were we? Page 52. And we have Tammy Price with the 911 Center. Good evening.
Good evening, Council Chair and council members. The administration is seeking approval for the county to accept a donation of $477,300 from the Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services, Maryland 911 Board, formerly known as the Emergency Number Systems Board, for reoccurring maintenance charges, equipment, and software for the county's primary and backup 911 center. These funds will be allocated in the following way: reoccurring maintenance charges for the automatic number identification and automatic location identification, phone lines, the language line, the interface, the non-emergency line at the county's primary and backup centers, up to $438,750. Other equipment, including headsets, training splitters, ear cushions, telephone bottoms, up to $30,261, and software support to reduce the amount of time it takes for the backup phone system to come back online in the event of an outage, up to $8,289. The Office of Budget Finance advises that the $477,300 was included in the 911 Center FY 2021 budget for maintenance equipment and software support costs. Because of this donation, these funds will now be available for other 911 Center operating expenses. The county may request reimbursement from the Maryland 911 Board or request that the 911 Board pay the vendors directly. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Price? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Ms. Price. Good seeing you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Next item is on page 55. And what's this, resolution 122-20? Who's going to take it on? Who's
I
going
think
to?
this is Mr. Patokas, Madam Chair, primarily.
Okay.
Sure.
Councilor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So resolution 122-20 is an request the planning office to review and update the Ruxton, Riderwood, Lake Roland area plan. So, and it was, the last plan was adopted on February 22nd, 2011. It was, they call themselves the RRLRAIA, the Ruxton, Riderwood, Lake Roland Area Improvement Association. And that plan was proposed through a resolution by then Councilwoman Allman and Councilman Marks. And so it's fitting that now as we approach Master Plan 2030 and we'll, that we jointly, Councilman Marks and I, propose a resolution to update this plan. And I want to just say that this community association, this improvement association, has done a good job in collecting data to begin the plan. So they're already underway. And so it's a good base for the planning department to begin to update that area plan, as they also begin to do Master Plan 2030 and also begin to collect census data. So the timing couldn't be better. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patoka.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Marks.
Yeah, I remember sponsoring this with Councilwoman Allman nearly 10 years ago. One of the very last things that I did before I took my office was to go to the planning board in support of the Perry Hall Community Plan, which I had helped write as president of the Improvement Association. And it's been unfortunate that in the past 10 years, the county executives have not supported these community plans. I'm very hopeful that the county executive Olszewski and his administration will be very supportive of these because they really provide a good housekeeping seal of approval when a community comes in and wants projects. So I think they provide a very good purpose, and I'm very, very happy to support this along with Councilman Patoka.
Thank you, Councilor Marks. Okay, if there are no other comments or questions, we will move on to page 43. Mr. Marks?
Okay, thank you very much. So this resolution allows for the continued review of the Magnolia project in Perry Hall. It requires a formal community input meeting and evaluation by county agencies. Before submitting this resolution, I hosted 2 community meetings of my own, in addition to the one required of the developer. Based on those 3 meetings, I believe there is a sufficient level of support to allow this project to advance through the formal review process.
Thank you. Any comments or questions for Mr. Marks? Okay, we'll move on then. Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Now we can move on to the appointment for the acting director for the Department of Public Works, D'Angelo Walker. Hi, are you still with us?
I'm still with you. How are you this evening?
We're good. We're good. How about yourself?
Good.
Good. So you're going to do a little introduction for us this evening?
I am.
Good.
So, good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the council. It is an honor and a privilege to be here before the council this evening. I wanted to take a few minutes to briefly share with you some of my previous work experience and a little bit of my personal background. Most recently, I served as the Associate Director for Transportation in Prince George's County, where I was responsible for moving nearly 4 million passengers annually. Within that transportation system, there are 28 bus routes and 15 metro rail stations. I'm very proud to say that I was responsible for increasing on-time performance by 10% in a 12-month period and successfully rewrote regulations for the taxi industry while working on a 5-year plan for transit services throughout Prince George's County. Previously, I served Deputy Administrator and Chief Administrative Officer of the Maryland Transit Administration. There, I was in charge of representing the MTA's interests and positions before legislative authorities at all levels of government. I also oversaw a $600 million operating budget, as well as a $750 million capital budget. In addition to legislative and budget responsibilities, I was responsible for labor relations and contracts with 3 unions, including the ATU for bus and maintenance staff at MTA. I have dedicated my life to public service. I have a love for transportation and an extensive experience as an executive manager with over 2 decades of experience in state and federal government, having the privilege of working in the Maryland Governor's Office and several state agencies, as well as on Capitol Hill. Though I would draw upon all of my knowledge and experience from the positions I have held over the years, the position that I feel relates closely to the vast structure of public works is my duty as Deputy Secretary at the Maryland Department of General Services. As you all well know, the Department of General Services as well as Public Works are similar in many ways. The public-facing nature of both departments and the importance of fulfilling the constituents' many needs in a timely, efficient manner is of utmost importance. I'm a distinguished alumni of Morgan State University, where I earned 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and a Master's in Information Technology. Also, I'm a proud graduate of Leadership Maryland class of 2013. Currently, I serve on the executive boards for the Conference of Minority Transportation Officials and Transportation Association of Maryland. As director, I see myself carrying out 3 very important pillars: building the collaboration amongst the internal teams and the partners around the state, building criteria behind the decisions and policies that we make and have in place, fulfilling the constituents' many needs in a timely and efficient manner within the confines of the regulations and our responsibilities. I believe that having these basic pillars in place and making sure that they roll up to the county executive strategic plan will enable us to move the agency forward with a laser focus on our objectives and our responsibilities. I'm originally from Houston, Texas. However, I lived in Baltimore County for 20+ years, where my son attended and received a quality education from the Baltimore County school system. I'm committed to the success and the growth of the Department of Public Works to fulfill its promise to provide critical and essential services in a timely and efficient manner for the residents of Baltimore County. I thank you for your time today, and I respectfully ask you for your positive vote of confirmation this evening.
Well, thank you, Ms. Walker. That's an impressive resume that you have.
Thank you.
I can tell you, being in office 10 years and doing constituent services for almost 7 for the Smith administration, Public Works is right up there with probably my most active agency that we deal with every day because of all the different, whether it's solid waste or highways or traffic calming, there's just utilities. There's so much that falls underneath of Public Works. You certainly have big shoes to fill.
I do.
Yeah, I know you know that. Yeah, I know you know that. We've had quite the reputation in Public Works as, showing up and being there for people and listening to the issues, whether it's their toilets are backing up and they don't know why, to slow the traffic down in my neighborhood, to why is my water bill so high? It's all there, and it's all very important that we're able to follow up with our constituents in a timely manner. So you definitely have your work cut out for you. I think is Public Works our largest agency with the most employees, Ms. Rogers? Do you know? I think it may.
HHS.
Pardon me?
HHS is the largest.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, because of social services and the health department combined?
Yes.
Okay.
But, Public Works is right there.
Yeah.
Outside of police department, but with the general, yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah.
It does indeed touch every single customer in Baltimore County. We use that as one of our icebreakers. What is the one government service that touches everyone each and every day and is delivered by Public Works is water.
Yeah. Yep. And potholes.
Well, hopefully potholes don't touch each and every one of us every day.
Right.
The water touches every single person in some way.
That's true.
Every day, from babies to seniors, every day.
That
Water.
is true.
Well, when the water comes in, something else goes out.
That's sewer.
Was that Mr. Jones?
But no, without it, we can't function.
That's right. That's right. Well, I know that my colleagues probably have some questions or some comments for you. So who wants to go first? I know Mr. Julian Jones was clapping that you were Morgan State.
Yeah. I am Madam Chair, may I have the privilege of going first?
Sure, sure.
Yeah, congratulations, Ms. Walker, on your nomination. I look forward to working with you. You would think that I graduated from Morgan, but I graduated from UMBC. But my wife graduated from Morgan, so they have adopted me and allowed me to show up at all their events. And I show up so often, people often say, "Hey, what class did you graduate?" I tell them, but I don't tell them it was at UMBC. They don't need to know all everything. But then you said information systems, I believe, right?
Yes.
That's my degree from UMBC. So that's good. Sounds like you're very well-rounded. And I know that Councilman Mark will be very excited about your transportation background because that's his strong suit. But I just want to congratulate you on your nomination. And like Council Chair Bevan said, I mean, it's so important that Public Works is so very important from the water mains to the roads to the sewer to shoveling snow. I heard Ms. Rogers talk about an icebreaker. Well, we like to just talk about snow around here. Just make sure that snow is off the street and the ice is off the street when it shows up. So I thank you. I look forward to working with you and talking with you a little more offline. So thank you very much, Madam Chair, and welcome, Ms. Walker. We look forward to your vote for Monday.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your comments, Madam Chair. Just so that you know, I moved snow in Prince George's County. I was responsible for their largest district and moving snow as their district director for 3 years while I was there. So I have 5 years worth of experience of moving snow in a large county.
Okay, you all heard that. We'll all send our addresses to Ms. Walker.
There you go.
Just kidding. Councilman Marks, I believe you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ms. Walker, you're a member of the Women's Transportation Seminar, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah, so we've known each other for quite a while when I was the chief of staff at Maryland Department of Transportation. And one of the things that a lot of people may not realize is that transportation and engineering in general is an area where we don't have a lot of women, unfortunately. And so it is a real pleasure to see you taking this position. And I look forward to supporting you and working with you. I want to mention a couple things. First, thank you for your support with the Trial Council Circulator. Very important priority for me and one that we'll have some very good news on shortly. And I have two questions. First, the administration announced a pilot program to implement digital speed signs throughout the county, one in each district. Will we be getting a rollout plan for those digital speed signs pretty soon?
Yes, we will, sir. I believe our chief of traffic is trying to get some suggested locations for each district.
Okay.
We'll follow up with him and get that information out to the council.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And that closely relates to my second question. You know, speaking is one where we get requests all the time for traffic counts and all the time for stop signs. And sometimes we're given hard no's that don't really resonate with the community. I'll give you a good example. And I want to speak very highly of Keith Link, who is terrific, fantastic worker.
Yeah.
But when we're told that you can't do traffic calming on a rural road, you have to go to the police to enforce it. A lot of the times there's nowhere for the police to sit on the shoulders, so you basically don't have any solution for those communities. So I guess what I would encourage is just to continue to get beyond just saying no and try to get us to a yes wherever we can. That's my one thing. My final point is on bicycling. The very first bill that I sponsored created the Maryland Bicycle Protection Advisory Committee. Please continue to elevate that. We're aiming toward being an intermodal department, and you know, in many cases, bicycling, sidewalks, transit have to be part of a complete package along the road. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you.
Looking forward to it, sir.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilmember Toka.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Ms. Walker, when you were first appointed, I was very, very pleased, and I said some things to my colleagues on the council, and I just want to reiterate them. I worked with Ms. Walker in the state of Maryland when I was working with the state, and there are three things that I'm going to say about Ms. Walker that I experienced when she and I worked together at the state of Maryland. One is she is a top-notch professional, not second tier, but top-notch. She is very easy to work with. That's number two, pleasant to work with. And number three, most importantly, she gets things done. And so those are kind of three of the most important qualifications I can think of. And I'm really pleased that the county executive is bringing on someone with a transportation background. And I guess the icing is that you also have a general services background, which adds another set of skills that's important to Baltimore County. But I do think that as we become a 21st century county, that we need to have 21st century transportation. Roads need to be, transit and roads and pedestrian safety all need to be at a 21st century level. And I think you're the person that could get us there. Focusing in on the second district, we are chock full of pedestrian safety issues that are unlike other districts because of they're one of our largest growing demographics. So it's something that I've worked with DPW on, and look forward to working with you on. And I'm really pleased that you've been selected for this position.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate your support.
Anyone else?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Crandall.
Sure. Good evening, Ms. Walker. Congratulations on your nomination. And I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet, but I did hear your voice because you've jumped right in to an issue that is a serious issue in the 7th District. You're the chair of the residential truck traffic work group. Had your second meeting today. And
Yes, we did.
Heard your voice echoing around our office here in Dundalk, and so I'm pleased that you have a transportation background along with your other credentials. As you know, our district is thankfully in the midst of outstanding growth with the explosion of Trade Point Atlantic and the expansion of the Port of Baltimore, which the county obviously shares somewhat with Baltimore City. And with that growth comes major challenges with heavy truck traffic. And I'm pleased that you're the chair of that group. And as you know, my staff member is our representative on that work group.
Yes.
And he came in as you guys wrapped up. We were about to begin the work session, and he came in. He said that was a very productive meeting. So that's a compliment to the chair. So that's a good thing. So you, with all the Councilwoman Bevins touched on this, that DPW is often taken for granted because it provides services that you don't notice until they don't happen. Right. So DPW has the ability to cause a lot of problems for local government, local elected officials. So you're our new best friend in the 7th District. So welcome aboard, and I'll look forward to confirming you on Monday.
Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes. I'm sorry. Who was that?
Yeah. This is
Councilman
Quirk.
There you go.
Yeah, just very, very briefly. I know that the night is getting a little late, and but Ms. Walker, we do look forward to obviously working with you. And I think, as you can tell, Public Works, we all live and die by Public Works. If you guys do a good job, we all look good. And unfortunately, if things fall short, we hear about it from our constituents basically nonstop. And so it's such a critically important job. So we do wish you the best in this acting role position. And at some point, I'd hope to sit down with you and relook at the whole River Road opportunity that we've all been working on. Agree with Councilman Marks, walking and bicycling, so important to making Baltimore County communities that especially young people want to move to, and keeps home prices high. So I do hope that's a big priority of yours as well. And so when things settle down, we hope to take out the lunch and talk about different projects as well. So thanks so much.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Catch.
Yeah, Ms. Walker, I want to congratulate you for this appointment, and also to tell you that you obviously learned the lesson that you don't call Prince George's County PG, because that is really bad when you do that. And secondly, I was so sorry to hear about Councilman Patoka's issues in his district, that his people don't know how to properly cross a street. So maybe you can help him to teach his constituents how to be safe pedestrians.
I will work on that, sir.
Yeah, please, he needs the help. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
I just want to know if Councilman Quirk is paying for lunch when we all go out.
I heard that part.
Absolutely.
I will happily pay for lunch for everybody if my roads and sidewalks get done first. Happily.
We're just kidding. Okay, who was this?
I will not attend
Madam
that
Chair.
one.
Yes, Councilman Jones.
Let me just say one more thing. Again, we welcome you, Ms. Walker, but let me just take a minute to say the men and women of the Public Works Department are terrific. They work extremely hard. They always get the job done. And I just think it's important that I put a plug in for them to let you know that you're inheriting a group of very, very hardworking, dedicated men and women. And let me also bring this up as we have a bill that's introduced and we talked about prevailing wages. I can't help but put it on the table that, you know, our Public Works Department is a shell of what it used to be. We have come to a place in this county where we sub out everything to the lowest bidder. And if you just look back at the number of employees we used to have at Public Works compared to what we have today, I bet you if you go back 10, 15 years, you probably find that we have less than half of what we used to have. So anyway, I would hope that you would take a look at that in the spirit of making sure people are earning a decent wage or a decent pay for a decent day's work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else? Well, we look forward to seeing you on Monday, Ms. Walker.
I will be here.
And I guess if any of the council members have any questions before then, they can give you a call.
Please do.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll see you on Monday.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okie dokie. We're going to move on to, where are we now? The appointment of Deputy Zoning Commissioner Lori Murphy. It's our next piece of business. Yay, you're with us. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
So I'm guessing that you'd like to chat a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council for the opportunity to speak with you this evening regarding my appointment as an administrative law judge. I'm a lifelong resident of Baltimore County, and for the last 27 years, I've been practicing law in Catonsville with my father. And our focus has primarily been on real estate, land use. That included both litigation, trial work, as well as contractual work, leases, and what have you. And by way of background on my education, I'm an undergraduate. I have an undergraduate degree from Loyola University of Maryland. I then graduated from the University of Baltimore Law School. And then I obtained a Master's of Science degree in real estate development from Johns Hopkins University. And then I would say more importantly than either of those, for the last 13 years, I've had the privilege of serving as Councilman Quirk's appointment to the Board of Appeals. And in that capacity, I have served as not only the chair of the entire board, but also as panel chair in individual cases. And if you're familiar with how it works, we sit in panels of 3, and the panel chair acts as essentially the umpire calling balls and strikes. So I would just say that I feel uniquely qualified for the job of an administrative law judge, in that my years on the board has enabled me to hear and decide many different kinds of cases. We on the board hear the exact same cases in many respects that the administrative law judge hears. Not only do we hear the on-the-record appeals, the development plans, the code violation cases, we also hear cases de novo, which is obviously starting over from the beginning. So all of these special exception cases, the variance, all of those cases we hear from the beginning, just as the administrative law judge would do. And in addition to those cases, of course, we hear on the board, we heard appeals from every Baltimore County agency, from environmental variances and waivers to building permits, to handicap parking cases, to limited exemption appeals and whatnot. So I feel privileged that I was able to spend those years at the Board of Appeals, and I just think it's very important when you're hearing a case, whether as an administrative law judge or on the Board of Appeals, to provide a fair hearing. You have to have the right temperament to give the parties an opportunity to present their cases, and then to render a decision that is based on the law and also based on the evidence. So thank you very much for your consideration of my appointment.
Wants to be first and having a conversation with you, Councilman.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I couldn't hear you at first. You were on mute.
Oh, was I? I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? I said, any questions or comments for Ms. Murphy?
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I could.
Yes.
Briefly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just briefly. I mean, I've had the privilege and real honor to know Maureen for many, many years. As she said, she served as my representative with the Board of Appeals. And I can tell you, I've talked to many of her colleagues and people that have served with her. And one thing for certain is she's incredibly skilled. She's incredibly competent. And she's known as really the person on the Board of Appeals that really did a lot of the heavy lifting when it came to a lot of the legal issues, by her background and training. She really was the go-to person that got a lot of the difficult work handed to her. And I've known many people who've always thought she's been very fair and reasonable on both sides, and really has done just a great job. So to me, this is a great appointment. I definitely commend the county exec's office for really choosing someone who I think will do a phenomenal job and be fair and really weigh the facts and make really quality decisions for the county. So thank you. I appreciate your service too, Maureen. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate you stepping up to help the county. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councilman Quirk.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilman Jones.
Yes, I'd like to just congratulate you as well, Ms. Murphy. We are happy to have you. I look forward to your work and seeing you be open and honest and fair to people that come before you. And I was sitting up there thinking, M&M. You have any? You know who M&M is?
You mean?
I do, because I have 3 boys, so I do know who Eminem is. You're talking about the rapper?
Yes, Mr. Mathis. Yes. Okay. All right.
Oh,
So you passed the first test. That's good.
Don't ask me to sing.
No, it's okay. You know who he is, so that's good. So you're well rounded. That's important. And we're happy to have you, and just look forward to voting for your confirmation.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. I would just like to say that being in this position is a tough one. That you really have to give people time to, give their side of the story, because I think a lot of times, people just you can't interrupt. They just need to be heard. Just let me tell my story. And I think a lot of times the position that you're in, there's so many emotions there when people are coming to you, because it either involves their home, their property, has something to do with code enforcement. That's a big one for us, and especially the rat issues that we have. So you're going to hear a lot, and from all walks of life, from all over the county. And for me, I think that would be very interesting. But I'm glad that you did say sometimes you just gotta be quiet and let people talk, and and all we ask is that you be fair in what you do. And I'm just happy to see, I just have to say it, Ms. Rogers. I mean, two appointments taking place this week, 2 females. I'm just really excited. I was really I'm outnumbered here, you can see on the council, but I'm glad to see that the county executive is taking initiative to see the talents that more and more women have this day and can these days and can serve our county. So thank you for just like Julian said, for stepping up to the plate and wanting to do this. Who would like to say, is that Councilman Marks?
Yeah, thank you very much. I have said this a lot of times, but my father served on the Board of Appeals for 10 years. He was chairman. My enduring memory of him is coming home from college, and he would be down the basement writing out these long opinions on the yellow legal brief. It is a tough job. I think one of the most difficult jobs in the county government. You have handled it with aplomb, and you will do a terrific job in this position. So congratulations.
Well, thanks so much, Councilman Marks. And I would just add that if anyone ever wants to know the ins and outs of a legal issue, you just have to read an opinion by Charles Marks. And
oh God,
it's
yeah.
their legal.
Yeah, he did the reptile farm, and he did the Oella Mill, Councilman Quirk. Yeah, thank you.
Madam
Chair.
Who was first? I'm sorry. Councilman Vitoka?
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Murphy, so you said you are familiar with M&M.
Yes.
Are you familiar with ASAP Rocky?
I've heard of them.
Well,
Dan,
I
don't
didn't
ask
think.
me to sing, but
No, if your boys don't know him, I don't think he's relevant.
Okay.
But also, is it true that you hail from the 2nd District, the beautiful 2nd District of Baltimore County?
Originally Catonsville. So, yes, initially, but I do live in the 2nd District now.
Good. That's a big bonus, I think. And
Also,
are you related to John Murphy?
I am. That's my dad.
Okay, so John Murphy, when I was in the planning department, was a planning board member, and I always thought very highly of him and thought he was an outstanding planning board member. And so, anybody that is related to John Murphy is good with me. So congratulations. Look forward to seeing you as an administrative law judge.
Madam
I
Chair.
appreciate that. Thank you.
I think Councilman Crandall was first. Councilman.
Okay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I don't know if that's the case, but thank you anyway. Who's clapping? Ms. Murphy, I just want to go on the record that I'm not much on M&M, but I love M&Ms of the peanut variety. Just to go on record, and I did learn something tonight that Councilman Patoka was on the planning board. So you learn something new every evening. And I learned the fact that he was a planner every meeting. So
You must have been snoozing at one of the meetings because it's been mentioned.
well, I learn it in every single meeting. So, but Ms. Murphy, I know that you've worked with my appointees on the both Jay West and Bill McComas on the Board of Appeals. So I apologize on my behalf for their behavior, but I know that your reputation precedes you, and I think that you'll be a valuable asset to that branch of county government, and we do appreciate your service to county government, and I'll look forward to your confirmation on Monday evening. So thank you.
Madam
Thank you so much, Councilman Wren.
Thank you. Councilman Katz.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Murphy, I want you to, I was elected in 1974, the same year your father was elected to the county council. I guess you weren't born then, but
No, I was. I answered the phone calls at night about the snow and why isn't my driveway plowed and all that.
I was not yet.
But I
He used to hand out his home phone number, so.
So I know that your father was elected on a reform ticket and very concerned about people being able to be part of government, and I think it's so very important. And I am going to bring up something that is a little unpleasant, and I just would like you to assure us that when it comes to citizens, that you will give them equal consideration when they testify, realizing that many of them will hire attorneys and spend a lot of money. We're talking about private citizens. And let me just be specific. In one case, on Mount Carmel Road, in a decision that you wrote, you named a constituent of mine and basically questioned her veracity. In fact, you said she wasn't telling the truth. And I can assure you, since I've known her for 20 years, that she did tell the truth. So please be very careful, and please give every citizen consideration, and realize that they're there on behalf of their community. And I can tell you who it is offline. You probably know who it is with that case, but her feelings were so hurt, and she still talks about it today. And so please, I'm sure maybe that was just a bad day for you, but please keep in mind citizens are there, and taking their time to testify. And I do want to thank you for your service. And I have spoken with members of the Board of Appeals and have not heard any negative comments, only positive. So, I just wanted you to know that you really hurt her.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. We're going to move on. Anyone else? I don't know how you follow up with that, but anyone else?
Madam Chair, I would just say, being on the county council, I'm sure we all can point to times and people that have agreed and disagreed with everything we do. I mean, any easy decision I've ever made, I've found that 20% of people don't like it. And so when you're making decisions and you're listening to people, not everybody's going to agree with everything, but I was kind of heading back to Councilman Crandall real quick with Councilman Patoka, and I just wanted to know if it's true that Councilman Patoka has a life-size cutout picture of Peter Godwald in his house. Is that a true fact, Councilman Patoka, or is that a rumor?
It is true that I have a life-size cardboard cutout of someone in my garage, but it's not Peter Gutwald.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think we're getting giddy because we're at the 3-hour mark. Ms. Murphy, I want to thank you for speaking with us this evening. And I'm sure if any of the council members think of anything else they'd like to maybe ask you or make a comment on, they can contact you directly sometime before Monday. And I certainly look forward to appointing you on Monday. And thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Well, thank you, Councilman Bevins. Thank you, everyone.
You're quite welcome. Thank you. Next item. Wade, you got me so flustered right now. I don't even know how to move on.
Madam Chair, we actually end with Bill 104-20.
I know. I've been notified by the person that's been hanging on. We're 3 hours into this meeting, that's been hanging on, wondering if we were going to get to it. Our last piece of business is on page 9. Mr. Catch, Bill 104-20. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you. You're still muted.
Okay, now?
Yep.
I'm sorry you were upset, but it was in a written opinion.
I don't.
including her name.
She came in tonight to talk to the council, and that was the most embarrassing thing that I have ever seen come before this council, for you to do that to somebody
I'm
public.
sorry you feel that way.
Just because you're constituent, you know, we got a lot of good community people out there, but don't mean sometimes they don't lie. Okay.
Well,
So you don't know. You don't know if somebody lied or
I
not.
know that she didn't lie because I know what she was criticized.
Okay. Well, you didn't have to do that tonight. That was unethical. That was shame on you.
I
Shame on you.
disagree. I disagree because if one thing we got to make sure that all of our ALJs listen to people and listen to the concerns of the community. So
She didn't say she didn't listen. She just didn't believe what the woman said. There's a difference.
and she was wrong. I mean,
This was not the place to do that, Wade. I have never been so embarrassed.
I disagree with you.
Okay,
Totally.
let's move on. Bill 104-.
Okay. This bill deals with the Curio
Oh my.
cannabis growing facility on Owlsbury Road in Timonium. Basically, they have outgrown their facility. They want to expand it. In order to expand it, they've got to take their some of their parking area and put a building on it. And they want to be able to have 50% of their cars, of the people that work there, parked off-site with either shuttle service or the light rail to bring the people to the growing facility. That's what the bill does.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments for the councilman? I believe we have a speaker that's been waiting on the line.
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Arthur Adler, I'm going to call him.
Thank you.
Mr. Adler,
Yes,
you may begin your testimony.
thank you. I'm using my phone as Wi-Fi, so hopefully it works. Madam Chair and the council, I appreciate the opportunity to address you. I will say it's been a while since I've been at a council work session, and I will go on the record that for 3 hours I missed the amusement of Mr. Latshaw talking to me for the entire 3 hours.
That's funny.
But that being said, you know me from KSLI Partners, but I'm also a partner in Curio Wellness. By state law, we have to build additional grow facilities on the Aylesbury site. We tried to relocate it; they wouldn't allow us. So we really have no choice but to build it here. We're the leading medical cannabis company in the state. We want to grow to meet the demand. And the point I wanted to make, I'm very sensitive to parking variances, but we're unusual in that our employees, when they come in the morning, they don't leave all day, because when they come in, they have to shower, change, and get proper hygiene, and they don't leave the building for the whole shift. So we feed them, we do everything inside. So to the extent that we do have to run a shuttle, or they have to take the light rail to a remote parking lot to another building we own, it isn't a burden, because it's really once in during the morning and once in the afternoon. And I appreciate your support of this bill.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Cash?
No, Madam Chair, the last speaker this evening.
Okay. Is that all you have, Councilman Catch?
Yes.
Are there any comments or questions for the councilman on this issue? Alrighty. I think we're done for this evening. Mr. Boswick, are you still with us?
Yes, ma'am. That's the last thing.
We know you're under the influence of medication.
Just Tylenol now.
You were still with us. Okay, then I think this concludes this evening's work session.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Madam Chair.